Hello, this is Tara Logan Carter. Here's my ID. And here's my audience. I'm paying y'all slow. And now I'll begin my speech. Okay. My speech is over autism. Autism spectrum disorder, ASD. Do you know anybody that has autism? Chances are you probably do. If you said no, you probably just don't know that you do. This month is Autism Awareness Month, and the reason why a lot of people don't know that they know people with autism is because most adults and children go undiagnosed. So, we're going to raise the awareness this time together. Okay. Today I will be describing what autism is, what the signs and causes are. I'm going to be explaining meltdowns as well as touching on treatment options and the tools that are available to help people cope and to caregive people with autism. What is ASD? Autism spectrum disorder is a complex neurological and developmental disorder that involves persistent challenges with social skills, repetitive and involuntary behavior, speech, and nonverbal communication. The spectrum is very broad and includes Asperger's disorder, autistic disorder, persuasive development disorder, non-otherwise specified, and childhood disintegrative disorder. CDC estimates that 1 in 44 children are diagnosed with autism in the United States. 1 in 44. Lifelong functional impairment can range from mild to severe, and it varies from case by case. Autism symptoms change from person to person, but there are still guidelines. The National Institute of Medical Health states that the causes of autism are still largely unknown, but there are several factors that can determine the likelihood of you having autism. Having a parent or a sibling with autism, older parents, genetic disorders like Down syndrome or fertile egg syndrome, a very low birth rate, as well as boys can be 4 times more likely than girls to be diagnosed with Asperger's disorder. The reason for boys being diagnosed more than girls is actually because girls are better at a technique called masking. Masking is when someone with Asperger's disorder mimics other people around them or people that they know in certain social situations. They basically put a mask on and pretend that they know what's going on and how they should act, when really they're just acting out a script. Other signs of autism is little eye contact or the avoidance of eye contact, infrequent shares of interest or emotional vulnerability, not responding to one's name or attempts to signal attention, difficulties with back and forth conversation, unusual tone of voice, talking at length without noticing that others aren't interested or not giving them an opportunity to respond. Other signs of autism are trouble understanding others' points of view. This causes a lot of confusion in social interactions because the social rules that we live by aren't written. They're not scripted, and we kind of just think that everybody knows them and they should know them, and when you don't act on them, you're rude or out of space. Repeating behaviors or phrases or words. Lasting interest in specific subjects like math, details, facts like history or science are really something that people with autism focus on. It doesn't have to be these subjects, but it's just the obsession with it is what makes it a sign. Overly focused interest is the word. Becoming upset when routines change. Nobody likes change, but people with autism become overwhelmed when the routine changes because, yet again, they don't have a script. So they don't know what to do, and it becomes overwhelming to their senses. Sensitive sensory output towards light, sound, textures, emotional stimulation, different stressors can all be triggers and symptoms. This brings me to meltdowns. Meltdowns in autism are actually very common in children and in adults. Meltdowns are not tantrums. Tantrums are acting out whenever you want something that you can't have or you want a certain situation to go your way. It is acted upon. Meltdowns are a response to stress. They're involuntary and they are very stressful for an autistic person. They're very draining. Symptoms of or signs of a meltdown can be hand flapping, head hitting, kicking, screaming, hyperventilating, and even shutting down into oneself. So they get to a point where they just close all the way down and they can't think, they can't speak, they just shut completely down. These can be, as I mentioned before, can be confused with a tantrum, especially in children, because that sounds like a tantrum if you don't know what you're dealing with. But again, these things are involuntary and it's just a coping mechanism. A very good one, actually, but it's just not good for social situations. Autism is a disorder that affects people of all ages, genders, races, ethnicities, and also economic backgrounds. Raising awareness about autism is, I went over what raising awareness about autism is, the signs and symptoms of the spectrum, meltdowns, practical and professional treatments can help those affected by ASD gain understanding, equip them with tools they may need to survive and to thrive. Now it's story time. About 3 years ago, I met my father, my biological father, and I found out that he was diagnosed a year before that with Asperger's disease, or disorder, sorry. Also, 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, my 2-year-old nephew, Noah, was diagnosed with autism. That makes two very close relatives of mine that were diagnosed with autism. So I plan to go get tested for autism. It's very likely that I may not be diagnosed because I am an adult, I'm highly functioning, and it's hard to get a diagnosis for these things when you have those benefits towards you. But I am going to go get tested just for my benefit. I think that just going through the experience may help me, and also it might help other family members that I have or people around me. Autism isn't a death sentence. It is something that we have to modify our lives for. And when we're aware that, I need help with this, you can get the help. So for the month of April and going forward, let's raise awareness about autism, and so we can build bridges and help people all around. Thank you for your time. And the people are still here. My bad. Still here.